Welcome to the Family Remission Podcast. I'm Ashley Tilford, and today we're going to talk about when kids face big feelings. So, when I was a first time mom, I had three kids under the age of three. My oldest was my daughter, and she had big feelings. And I had never experienced someone with such big feelings that it was very overwhelming, very frustrating. I didn't understand. I didn't know what to do. She was always crying, always upset. Things didn't fit right. They didn't work right. Things didn't go her way. And there was always really big feelings associated with it. And I did not have the tools or the capabilities to be able to come alongside her and help her understand those big feelings because I myself, especially at that time, invalidated every single one of my own feelings. And so for her to have these big feelings, it was very discouraging because I didn't know how to help her. I didn't know how to talk with her about it. I just would get so frustrated and angry and like, what is wrong with you? Why are you crying again? And as I look back now, I get really frustrated with myself or I feel bad about it, working through that with the Lord, but acknowledging that the reason why her big feelings were so hard for me was because I did not know how to process my own. And so, as parents, very important for you to acknowledge those places where your kids may have big feelings and you're not sure how to help them. And so, maybe you're the one that needs the help first. And so today we're going to talk about a couple of healing tools of how you can partner with your children to help them with their big feelings. But then I would also encourage you to check out my Pathway to Wholeness course. This is a great way to give language to some emotionally healthy things that you can do to teach and train your kids how to process through those big feelings, but then also it can apply to you as the parent. So, one of those healing tools that you can use is to acknowledge what is your reconciliation model. So, a lot of times we grow up in a home and there everybody, has their own way of processing how they feel, processing what a fight might look like with their parents or with their siblings or as spouses. And so everybody has a reconciliation model, a way that they process through conflict. And if you look at the different reconciliation models, there's some people whose reconciliation model is to run away. If there is conflict, they immediately run away. They go hide. Some people's reconciliation model is to avoid it. It never happened. We don't talk about it. We sweep it under the rug. And that's that. It never is talked about ever again. Some people's reconciliation model is to hold against you what you said until I think it's been long enough for you to suffer whatever consequences I think you should suffer for the conflict that was experienced. So we see there's all kinds of different reconciliation models. I have all of them listed out in my Pathway to Wholeness course. And all of those reconciliation models are unbiblical. It's unbiblical for us to hide, to try to protect ourselves, to punish others for expressing themselves. And so, as you are dealing with your child who has really big feelings, it is first important for you to acknowledge what is your reconciliation model and what is their reconciliation model. How do you deal with conflict? How does your child deal with conflict? What does it look like when they're confronted with something that maybe they did wrong? Is this where these big feelings are stemming from? They feel ashamed. They feel guilty. They feel upset. They feel embarrassed. What are they experiencing in this area of conflict? You can say, well, Ashley, sometimes it's not from conflict. It's just from something doesn't go their way. Well, that's conflict within themselves. And so when we start to have these conversations about, okay, how can I come alongside? How can I partner with my child to help them heal these big feelings? This is one of the first steps that we need to take is what is my reconciliation model and how do I deal with conflict? And so when you can start to identify that about you or your child, then you're going to be able to see and have some language for, okay, I see that you're feeling blank. And this is a great opportunity for you to find, you can like Google a feeling word. You can find a list of all kinds of emotion words that you can use to fill in that blank. Because a lot of times we just don't have the language to really think about how we're feeling. Most of the time, we'll say, well, how are you feeling? I'm mad. Because that's really the only feeling word we have. We have mad, we have sad, we have happy, and that's about it. And so by opening up our language for all different kinds of emotion words, we're able to really pinpoint, how am I really feeling? Obviously, mad is just a leaf on a stem, on a branch of a tree that is rooted in something deeper, like embarrassment or shame or fear. And so acknowledging that, okay, I need to broaden my language for emotions because I don't really have good words for how I'm feeling is another great step. And we used to do this with our daughter. We would print out some emotion words and say, okay, I see that you're having really big feelings right now. What are some words that you could put to your emotion? And, you can use a little chart. If they can read, you can use all the emotion words, but giving them the language to be able to identify how am I feeling is another tool that you can use to help them process through it. Because if they say, oh, well, I'm just mad. Okay, well, I understand that, but really you're mad about what? Because when we feel mad, there's so many other words that can go along with it that we just may not have the language for. So by giving your children the language or giving yourself the language for what these emotion words are, they can help you identify what the root of it might be, what the root of the problem really is. Well, actually, I'm mad because this part broke and I feel like it's never going to be fixed. And so then I'm afraid that I'm never going to be able to fix it. And so therefore, I'm never going to be able to do the thing. Like you see how it just progresses. And so by having that language, we're able to identify what the real problem is. What is the real issue here? And then the third healing tool I would suggest would be, okay, what is the lie that you're believing? So many times we are afraid or mad or we're upset because we're believing a lie. And the enemy is really good at distracting us with these lies that we've believed that we can't do something or we aren't good enough or nobody cares about us. And so if we take our emotion word and we found out and we realize, well, I'm feeling rejected because my friend said this, we can dig a little deeper to say, okay, well, I feel rejected because I'm believing the lie that they don't like me. Well, did they tell you that they didn't like you? No. Okay, well, then how do you know they don't like you? Well, I just feel like they don't. Okay. Well, that is not necessarily something that's true because feelings aren't always true. Feelings are just an indicator that something is wrong. So, how can we partner with the Lord to help heal those deep places in your heart where you're believing the lies that the enemy has told you that nobody likes you? So, this is another tool that you can use to identify the lie that you've believed. What is something that you believe that is rooted in this emotion that is causing you to react this way because you have places in your heart that need to be healed, that need to be filled, that need to be cleaned out because the enemy has done a really good job of creeping in and telling us lies that we have believed our entire lives. So, three healing tools when your kids have really big feelings. First is, what is your reconciliation model? How do you resolve conflict? What do you do when conflict occurs? How do you respond? And identifying that for you and your child is going to be important because that's going to show you, are you reacting in a biblical way or are you reacting in an unbiblical way? Then, two, finding an emotion word or broadening your vocabulary for emotions is also going to be important because then it will help you identify, and number three, what is the lie that you believe. And when you can identify the lie that you believe, you can renounce it, you can reject it. That I choose not to believe that anymore. I choose to believe the truth. You are allowing Jesus to come in and heal those places in your heart that you may feel that you are unloved, unworthy, not accept, rejected, afraid, right? All of those things that are the real root of the issue. You say, well, my kids just have really big feelings. Well, then they have quite a few areas in their heart that need to be healed because they are believing a lot of lies. So, if you're interested in learning more, I have a free reconciliation and forgiveness printable available that you can check out where it helps you walk through the steps of reconciliation and also helps you walk through the steps of forgiveness if that is something that you're trying to teach and train your children about. And then, if you need more help with creating emotionally healthy kids for yourself, check out my Pathway to Wholeness course. It's available on my website at ashleytilford.com.